Hello and welcome back to Bearded Heretics YouTube. So this is another Twitter response video. However, I'm going to do it slightly differently. Firstly, I'm not filming because I'm feeling a bit under the weather and I don't want to be on camera. And the second thing is I'm not going to actually share any of the tweets with you. So you just got my lovely voice and this beautiful music to listen to whilst we go through this. The reason I'm not sharing the tweets is because of the fact that I don't think it will actually be helpful in this case. Like, I'm not a drama channel and this really isn't drama. This is just like a learning point for discussions between atheists and theists. And I don't think it would be beneficial for the individual who the Twitter discussion was with, or myself, or any of the other people who were part of that discussion to actually share the tweets. Now, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. Maybe, you think I'm going to be hiding something or something like that. But really, I think as you go through this video, you'll see that the kind of thoughts I'm having around this don't need the tweets, because the thoughts are just kind of general thoughts about how people interact. Now, this discussion, just for some context, another reason is, the person who we're having a discussion with, they did share some like personal information about themselves in like as a rationale for specific behavior, and I think that rationale was justified entirely, but I don't really want to be sharing their personal life or anything on my YouTube channel because I think it can be a bit demeaning and it's not my place to do that. So I don't want to be that person that's kind of like going, oh well, this person's having this thing going in their life and like there we go, because this isn't about that at all, so there we go. But there was a discussion recently that has been had. It's been ongoing for a long time and I need to have my thoughts on it because I struggle with not expressing my feelings on things. And I think that there are some general thoughts that we could be saying about this whole thing. So I guess to start with some context, this is a discussion between a theist and some people I know from Answers and Reasons who are atheist. And it's very similar to the Sarah Salviander situation, where this theist states that they want to have better discussions with atheists and have better discourse and communication. And as far as I can tell, generally speaking, it's not that bad. They're polite, they're not rude, they don't name call or anything. However, this has kind of descended into something a bit more, and I want to address that stuff. Okay. So the first thing I want to address, and I think for the people in the thread, this was quite obvious, and obviously I am biased, and I try to take my biases into account, but this is more of a discussion around conversations and about how people talk to each other and how people portray each other and represent other people. So the discussion's being had around like some philosophical debate about theism and stuff like that. And I'm not going to get into the philosophy because I'm not a philosophy guy. I'm not really clear on the in-depth philosophy aspect of it. That's better for the people I know who are a part of Answers and Reason and that. But really, it's about making sure. So the first point is about making sure we understand each other. And I think this is a general conversation. I think this applies to a lot of atheists as well. And really, if you're going into a debate or a discussion or anything, you ought to be able to portray the other person's discussion or argument or whatever you want to call it, point, perspective, position, as well as they could, or at least in a way that they go, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you need to be able to say, this is what they're saying, and that be accurate. Because if you can't do that, then you're not targeting their arguments. You're not targeting their position. You're targeting what's called a straw man, right? A position that is easier to take down, or that's not really the position, right? Now, I don't think this individual is doing this intentionally. However, I do think this individual is doing this. And I don't like to use fallacy names because I think they can get too technical, but the technical term is a straw man fallacy. But I much prefer to discuss it in layman's terms and just discuss it as an actual point, because I think, you know, people can get lured into playing like fallacy bingo or saying things are fallacies when they're not fallacies and stuff like that. And I might be, you know, at the moment I might be falling prey to that. But basically, you know, if you can't explain that person's perspective accurately, then you're not targeting their perspective, right? And I think this individual is not able to do that effectively. Now, something I know that's happened, because I've observed it personally, is people have tried to explain their position accurately to this individual. They tried to say, look, this is actually what we're saying. Yet the argument from his side hasn't changed. Yeah. It maintains the same beats. It literally hasn't changed at all. And this conversation has been going on for months, for a really long time. So what ends up happening is that people get frustrated because their perspective is continuously being portrayed badly, and it appears like it's being used as rhetoric. You know, look how bad this argument is. It falls down here, when actually their argument is either something different or something slightly different. You know, it's frustrating when people aren't portraying your argument properly, because it means that that individual doesn't understand it, and there doesn't seem to be a desire to understand it effectively. In that situation, people ought to ask questions. You know, if somebody's saying you're not understanding what I'm saying, don't say no, I am, and then continue to say, oh, this is what you're saying, and then they say no, that's not, because obviously you're not saying what the way it is that they're saying. You're not portraying their argument effectively. So that's the first point. You know, we need to be able to understand the other person's perspective. This counts for atheists as well when we're talking about theist arguments, because I see a lot of atheists getting theist arguments wrong, or portraying theists as all that's really weird. I heard some sounds. Portraying theists as all like creationists, which isn't the case, or Bible literalists, which also isn't the case. You know, you need to understand exactly what the opposition is saying, what their point is, and then that's when you can say, okay, well, this is my counter argument, or this is why I don't agree with that. If you can't do that, then I'm sorry, but you're not able to actually say anything about that person's perspective. Okay, that one's really easy, because, you know, people tend to think they understand things when they don't, and that includes other people's perspectives, and all it takes is just a bit more discourse, a bit more of a conversation about it. The other thing, and this is probably the most prominent thing, and this really frustrated me actually, and I'll be honest about that, I found it frustrating, was that there was half-truths being said. So there was a tweet about how atheists had told this guy one thing, and then he essentially disproved that thing, and then asked, like, how is the atheist not doing this as well? And and the person who was involved in that conversation hadn't said that thing at all. They just hadn't said it, you know. And then when I inquired a bit further, it turned out that there was just one tweet where he kind of mentioned it, but it really wasn't actually what he'd thought this person was saying. So it ended up kind of like portraying this conversation in one way without quoting the original conversation, so people couldn't check what was being said, and it looked like a misrepresentation. it looked like he was trying to use a point that wasn't being made as rhetoric to say, look, this is what atheists think, when actually it wasn't the point that was being made at all. And this happened again with there was a few people that were having a discussion with him, and they were trying to get him into a call to discuss it further, and he'd set boundaries about that because of personal reasons, which I won't go into. But he portrayed it to me like they hadn't tried to talk to him about it in any way. He portrayed it like he had done all the legwork and was saying, look, I offered this and they declined it, and that they hadn't offered anything to the conversation. They hadn't offered any opportunity to have a discussion outside of it, and that they'd just been rude to him or something like that. And I knew from having discussions with the individuals involved that that wasn't the case, that they had tried, and that even with the boundaries that he had set, with the boundaries that he'd set, that they didn't want to do that. So they'd set boundaries, he'd declined, he'd set boundaries, they declined, right? That's a mutual decision, right? That, they wanted to have a group chat and he didn't want to have a group chat. He wanted to have one-on-one chats and they didn't want that. And that's fine from both angles. I don't mind people declining things. That's perfectly reasonable for people to do. But when you portray it back, you need to say both sides of the story. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're looking like you're being portrayed in a bad. You look like you're the only one that made any effort, and that the other people didn't, and that's not what happened. Yeah. What that leads to is misrepresentation, and whether it's intended or not, that's what occurs, right? So it doesn't matter if somebody is meaning to misrepresent someone, or that's their intention, or that they're being malicious. If they are doing that because of their bias and they're not thinking through what they're saying, and they're only seeing it from their perspective and they're not trying to see it from others' perspectives, then it looks like they're intentionally misrepresenting other people. Now, this happened in those two occasions where he spoke half-truths and he didn't give the whole story. Now, that doesn't look like to me trying to have good relationships with atheists. That looks like to me that he's got an agenda, and he does have an agenda. He's a theist. He's an evangelical theist, and that he is portraying himself in a specific way in order to push a rhetorical narrative. And whether he's aware of that or not, I don't know. But either way, that's what's happening, okay? Now, there was a point that he made, and I think that's fair, where, he says he couldn't get anything right. And I think that sometimes on Twitter specifically, that is the case, But there are kind of roots to this. There are ways of making sure that you get it right for that individual, and I know that the guys that are involved from the atheist side would prefer to be quote tweeted and have their things shared, and they would prefer to have given the opportunity to discuss that, rather than feeling like they're being misrepresented by somebody who's not trying to understand their perspective at all, which is kind of what happened. So the point of all of this is that if we're wanting to have better relationships, and I want to have better relationships with theists, I want atheists and theists to be able to coexist, and I want the discussions between atheists and theists to be really above board and positive and engaging, and I want to understand the theist position. I want to know why they have their beliefs, and I want to understand atheist position, other atheist positions, understanding why they choose a specific type of atheism and why they choose certain arguments and stuff. But that's not possible if people are kind of only thinking about their rhetoric and only thinking about their mission, and not giving the space to other people. Either you have a specific agenda, and you need to be really above board with that and clear with that you are going to be biased and that you are going to be trying to persuade people, or you're genuinely trying to have these discussions and you share everything intentionally and fairly and don't misrepresent people. And either way, it's fine. You know, I don't mind if someone's got an agenda. Everyone has an agenda. People have an agenda to persuade people, especially like evangelical religious people. That's the whole point of their their evangelism, is to persuade people that Jesus is savior and etc. You know, but be open with it. Don't try and do it underhand, because if you're doing it underhand and then you're misrepresenting people, you're going to look like you're dishonest, and you're going to look like you're someone who isn't trying to actually have these conversations and have this even playing field, because you're not really, you know. I think we need to be very careful about how we represent other people, especially people with differing opinions to ours, because there is a very easy it's a very easy way of demonizing other groups and creating a further in-group out-group bias. Now, I think you guys can probably tell I'm a bit frustrated by the whole thing, because I try to see everyone as like good faith interlocutors, like people that, you know, disagree with me. I want to see that they're disagreeing with me in good faith, and I also vouched for this individual a few times, and I think that it becomes very difficult to continue to do that if I see behavior or kind of rhetoric that kind of seems dishonest in ways. So it did frustrate me, I have to be honest. But I guess, you know, there's only... All I'm trying to say is that there's like morals to follow. The moral to this tale. And the moral to this tale is that if you want to be an honest individual discussing these things on an open table, trying to figure out exactly what the opposition's viewpoint is without the burden of rhetoric or the burden of persuasion, then do that. If you're trying to persuade people to your line of thinking, then do that. But don't try and make out like one is the other. You know, I'm not trying to persuade people to be atheists. What my purpose is with this channel and with my Twitter and everything like that is to show people that being an atheist isn't a lost cause, that there are ways of filling the gaps that religion leaves when you stop believing, and that the things that you lose, like comfort, security, purpose, all of those things that you potentially lose when you leave religion or lose religion, are definitely able to be filled when you become an atheist. And take some work, but it's there, you can do it. That's the purpose of mine. So my purpose is about people who are already atheists, making sure that they feel secure in their position and don't get into this nihilistic mindset that tends to follow from atheism, and it's an angry mindset. So I'm not trying to persuade people to be atheists. That's up to them. That's up to people to decide if they want to be atheists or not. But when you're an evangelical Christian, you know, automatically, just the evangelizing is persuading people, trying to persuade people, right? And it is important that if you go into a conversation where you claim that you're going to be trying to understand the atheist position and have a mutual kind of like discussion about it. If you're actually trying to persuade people, then you cannot be pretending to not be doing that. And I don't know if this guy is I don't know if this guy is thinking that he's doing one thing and actually doing the other. Maybe that's what's happening. either way, you know, let's just make sure we're being completely open and honest with each other about this stuff. And let's not try and be underhand or deceptive in any way. And even if you think you're not being deceptive, really look at your behavior. Not this guy specifically. I'm not talking to this guy specifically. I'm talking to everyone now. Talking to everyone who engages in these discussions. Look at your behavior. Are you demonstrating behavior that shows that you genuinely want to have these discussions, or are you trying to just hold your position and persuade people to join you? Yeah. So let's actually improve these discussions, please, because I think that it's very important that atheists and theists have them. I think it's very important that, you know, if philosophy is being discussed, that people listen to people that are knowledgeable on it. And if someone presents a different perspective to you, don't just shut it down and think, you know, well, this doesn't go with my understanding. Listen to them, because the only way that you're going to be able to understand their argument and their perspective on that issue is by listening to them. You can't reiterate, or if you can't persuade someone that you understand it, if they're telling you no, you're not getting what I'm saying, then that's where you need to go, okay, really tell me what you're saying. And then when you can say it back to them and they go, yes, that is my point, that is exactly what I'm saying, then you can move on with your argument. Okay, so this was a bit of a jumbled mess of a video. I just wanted to get through this thing because honestly, it's just so frustrating to see it happen, and I don't want to see it happen. I want people to be above board and honest and stuff, and I don't want to be thinking that people who have shown me kindness and who have shown me engaged with me appropriately and have been good people to have conversations with are actually showing dishonesty and underhand tactics elsewhere, even if they're not aware of them. So we go. Sorry for the ramble, sorry for the rant. I think it was relevant, I think it was necessary. Probably my frustration is exacerbated because I'm feeling unwell, but there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed this audio clip. Please tell me your thoughts below in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you guys think about what I have to say. And if you think this video is about you, because obviously this video is about someone, and you're not a fan of what I said, or you think I'm wrong in any way, then please reach out to me. I'm happy to have a discussion with you. I'm not going to name you because I don't want there to be more of this kind of like name calling. I'm not about drama. This is more of a learning point for everyone, because this is important stuff. Yeah, but I do think if you are listening to this and you know it's you, which I'm sure you would, please don't think I'm just trying to bitch about you or anything. This is important, and I think that just reflect on what I've said. Think about how what you've said and what you've done may be perceived by other people, and then we can have a discussion about it. Not a discussion about atheism, theism, but this specifically, because I think that it would be useful for both of us. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and have a good evening, and yeah, I'll see you another time. Thank you.